Coach, feel like kind of right off the bat, just have to check in on Renard, Armani, and Nakia. Just know those are kind of some prominent injuries from Saturday.
You would right off the bat, huh? We didn't want to go into any pleasantries, okay?
No, Coach.
We're going to be without Renard and Nakia for some time. But their leadership is going to be much needed, much appreciated, and the next guys are going to be ready to go. So we're excited for their growth, especially Renard. I can't say enough about Renard and what he's done in his 7th year and his leadership ability and voted captain. And, he's going to be really mentoring those guys out there, and I'm excited for him. And both guys will return at some point, but it won't be until a little bit later. So guys will step up. Ryan Peters showed that on Saturday, being ready to go. We'll start moving some guys around. Lincoln maybe slide back inside to have a role there, and Jalen, and then Katzer will be ready to go when called upon. So we'll be ready to attack that, and just excited about those guys and their demeanor and how they're handling little adversity, and our team will be ready to go on Saturday.
And what about with Armani?
Armani seems to be just fine.
With so obviously Jalen will get the bulk, and then you said Katzer. Juvenski going to rotate in at all?
Yeah, Juvenski will come up, and we'll see how the week of practice goes. I mean, we'll see who's ready to handle that. And like I said, all three of those guys have been nothing but ready to go, and that'll be another week for them to show where they're at. And you're at that point in the season. You're in week 7, the bye week's right around the corner. Every team is kind of in this position. You got guys in and out, and we're not, we're not in any difference. So we'll be ready to go.
Is there some kind of appeal process with Grant and the targeting call, or what's kind of the update on that?
There is. It's the new rule now where you can, any second half targeting, you can take it to Steve Shaw, the head of officials. We have done that. We've gotten the ruling back and says the targeting stands. I think it's a rule that needs to be looked at. As a defensive coach, I understand the rule, right? The crackback rule when we protect offensive players. Why can offensive guys come back on a screen and just lay people out? As I see it, a guy that's almost sacking the quarterback. But that's the ruling, and that's what's going to happen. And Falili will probably get the start, and just excited about his progress and all the work that he's put into to get to that point. So next man up, and we'll be ready to go.
Falili's, are you shifting somebody inside and Falili starting?
We're still sorting that out, but Lili, I think, has been the guy that has earned some reps and some looks, and we're excited. But Quinn was ready on Saturday. Brock Dew will be in that mix, so we'll look at a lot of different guys, but excited with what Lili can really bring to the table, and he's worked his tail off to get to this point.
And how about that at the running back spots? Obviously, expect Jenkins to kind of get the bulk of the load there, but is it probably Katzer behind him, or how do you?
Yeah, right now it's Katz, and like I said, Javinski will be back in the mix, and D-Payne will be ready, and like I said, those guys are bulldogs. I mean, they've done everything we've asked them to do, and this will be no different. But Jalen can't play the whole game, right? We know that, and his role has been increasing each week to get to this point where he's ready to be the starter and the main guy. Excited for his growth and what he's brought to the table each and every week, and that's a credit to him being ready as a true freshman, and credit to Coach Atawaya and Coach Morris on developing him and making sure he's ready to go.
And at this midway point of the season, is there any areas you would say of the game that you feel you guys are maybe ahead of schedule, maybe behind schedule, or a little bit on par?
Well, I just see there's so much growth, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I just think we're still, I just think overall we're still building a program. And I think that's important for everybody to understand. We're still rebuilding this roster. We're still really growing our offense, our defense, our special teams. I know sometimes, I don't get afforded that luxury because I've been here, which is okay. But we're building a program. No one said there was just going to be instant success, right? So I'm excited about where we are. More importantly, I'm excited about the mindset of our guys. They came in this morning ready to learn and get better. We got beat by a really good team. We just made some uncharacteristic mistakes in that game, and you can't beat a top 10 team on the road doing those things. Credit to USC. But also a lot of learns from that tape to say, hey, this was just not being disciplined to executing in those moments, right, in critical moments, right, defensively, third downs. Offensively, just sustaining some negative plays, some protection stuff. So it's been a culmination of a lot of different things. And like I said, that excites me. I know you get 6 games in, and there's a lot of things to work on, and some people are going to panic about that. That's why we got Coach on our sleeve, right? That's why I challenged our staff to say, hey, let's it starts with us. We set the message, we set the mindset. Let's go out and attack each and every week. But we can grow in so many areas. So, Colton, I just don't think there's just one. I've been happy the last 2 weeks with the defense's response, right? They've been a lot cleaner. We've controlled the explosive pass game, which that was an explosive team we played. But there's so much on both sides of the ball that we can learn and grow from, and we have to make special teams our advantage, which we didn't have a chance to do last Saturday.
On that, a little bit of a broad question. Anything about the team that surprised you through 6 weeks?
Like I said, I don't know if anything just purely surprised, because I felt like we could be a good team, and I don't care what anybody else thinks, right? I know the trust and the mindset of the locker room, and we still have a lot to prove. These last 6 games will define this team, and we take it one game at a time. It's going to be tough in this league. Oregon State's probably the most undervalued team in this league. I believe that, with all the veterans they have and the tough physical way that they play. So for us, I just think it's about doing what we need to do, and the reality of how our team needs to play to win games, right? I think that's just the biggest target we missed on Saturday. Just we have to be clean, we have to be tough, we have to be disciplined, right? And we just didn't see some of those things, and that's what we'll address as coaches.
Coach, your team was missing a lot of energy, especially during the second half. How do you push your team to be more juiced up, like on the sideline or energized?
That's a tough question. I didn't feel that. I think that's your opinion. We came out of the half and got a 3-and-out, right? I felt that's good energy. That's maintaining. We didn't do what we wanted to do offensively. Went back and got another 3-and-out. Part of it is making plays. Part of it is leadership. Part of it is playing through adversity. So that's your opinion. I thought our guys were ready to play. They had energy. They had some focus. I thought it was a very emotional game. It really was. There was a lot of highs and lows and adversities, and some situations maybe we felt didn't go our way, right? So I think there was a lot of things that we had to stay the course. But I definitely don't think we had bad energy.
And then you have a lot of packages for your defense and for your defensive line, especially the front seven. How many packages do you have, and can you go into any detail about them?
Well, I think you probably see us rotate more than a lot of people. Some of that to slow the other offense down, but also to get our best athletes on the field at one time, and that's always a game of whether people are going to allow you to do it. But it's, when we call it our cheetah stuff, we get 4, defensive ends in. We call it Jaguar when we have 3 defensive ends in. So we try to do as much as we can package-wise to try to put our best guys out there in situations where they can go make plays, right? I think as a coordinator, as a coach, you got to put yourself, you got to put your players in the best position that they can go be successful, right? So the best part I love about it is there's no complaining, right? When the D tackles come off, they know who's supposed to be out there. But then when it's their time to go stuff the run like it will be this week, they know we need each and every one of those guys in there. So I just think it's less packaging and more understanding of what we need to do to have our best players in positions to make plays.
How do you correct penalties? How do you discuss discipline with your team about the 11 penalties?
Well, there's a couple things. First off, penalties to me are in 2 different categories, okay? There's pre-snap and post-snap penalties. 100% we control those, okay? We want 0, right? To have 3 offsides penalties on defense is unacceptable and unsportsmanlike with a new rule pulling a guy off. Okay, we had some false starts. Those are controllable discipline penalties. All right. And then there's penalties that happen within the whistles, right? And sometimes I want our guys cutting it loose within technique, and sometimes you're going to get penalties. And we've been really good throughout the season. In this game, obviously, those were stacked against us. I've never sent in this many plays to get evaluated, and just get rulings on since I've been here. So we'll get those rulings as it goes throughout the week, and hopefully I'll have a clear understanding of how I need to coach the guys in those moments to have better success.
What do you expect to do against the Oregon State running game? Anything different from the front seven?
Who are they good? They move people off the ball now. And I just – this team just reminds me of, all our offensive guys could have came back from last year. I mean – so they've been rolling people off the ball, and the tailback 5 is incredible. They're downhill. They got another transfer from Georgia Tech that's phenomenal, from freshman kid that's playing well. They are tough and physical at the line of scrimmage, and we've done a good job this season against tough physical football teams. And I think that'll be another challenge. Just like I said in every other week, it isn't one guy. It isn't the D tackles need to play well this week. It is everybody in the box. Then they get you up and they try to take it over the top. So pretty much people have been stopping them a little bit by takeaways. That's the one thing that they have been doing this year that's uncharacteristic of them in big games. But they're physical, they're downhill, and you got to make sure all 11 hats are there because they're going to devise some schemes to make sure even your corners are fitting the run. So we got to be physical and tough, and so far I believe in our guys in those two areas.
We saw Oregon State play a really good game 2 weeks ago against USC. What strengths do they have, and how are you preparing for those?
You excited the Mariners made it?
Yes.
I know you are. You're wearing that shirt proud. I'm excited too. I just think the biggest thing is this is a good football team. Like I mean it. I feel like they're the most undervalued team in the Pac-12. Just how veteran they are, how well coached they are, how physical they are. And they played a heck of a game against USC at home. They're tough to beat there. Okay, and we have to go there in a unique situation with half of the stadium not being built. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a ruckus crowd. It's going to be their homecoming, and it's going to be a physical game. I think they play physical. Defensively, I think they've been really good. I haven't seen every secondary in the league, but I know this. I think it's one of the top secondaries we've played. I think their corners are great, and they got great length, and they're being really good playmakers. So it's going to take a big challenge to go into their place and get the win. And one with the bye week hanging out there, it's an important 1-0 this week to leave it all out there as we get into a much-needed rest week as we get to week 7 and 8 in the season.
And with this being only the second road trip that you just completed, did you feel the road trip routines that you spoke about last week were well done?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we travel in first class, and I think our guys know the mentality of what we're trying to do. And, I think this will just be another week to stay on that routine.
Coach, speaking on Oregon State a little bit more, they seem like a pretty well-balanced team. Is there any specific spot that you think you guys needed to play well in as a key to win this game?
Who's going to win the line of scrimmage? Number one, first and foremost. And I think that's what they hang their hat on, and we need to make sure we're prideful about that too. I think it's on both sides of the ball. I don't say that just from a defensive to offensive perspective, right? Our offense has to control their front and allow Cam to have time and open up some seams in the run game because that's going to lead to a lot of our success. So when we sit here next week or whenever we get back together, whoever wins that line of scrimmage will have a big advantage to winning this football game.
You touched on a little bit, Coach, how you kind of look back and say, hey, we still are in a rebuild here. Can't kind of be lost with the way you guys have played against these top teams in the country. Just was this game, this loss, potentially like a reset of, hey, we're still a good team, but we're building something here?
It's definitely not a reset. It's just an understanding of where we need to be, right? And I've said it a long time ago, right? It's about re-energizing and just rebuilding this program into where we feel it can be. And we feel like we're scratching the surface. And I really feel confident about the players we have, but it's also about the developmental process of building depth throughout your team. And that's going to be a process that's going to take years in the making. But I'm just happy with the mindset of this team, the toughness of this team. I meant what I said. Those guys left it all out there on Saturday. Okay, and they did a good job of coming back in with a focused mentality this morning, wanting to learn and to get better. So, like rebuilding is a hard word. I just know that we're really invested here. I think maybe that's the better term, right? We're invested to build our program for the long term, and that's why I have a lot of respect for what Coach Smith has done at Oregon State. He came there and it probably wasn't great, right? And he's done a good job of developing depth all the way through their roster, and I think you see that. And we'll have the ability over time to continue to do that too. But I like where we're at. Because I know when I go out on the field and our team takes the field, we have an opportunity to win each and every game. I felt that Saturday, and I'll feel that every Saturday as we keep going throughout this season. So just excited about where our team's at and excited for some of the young guys that have been working their tail off to get their opportunities too to show who they are.
Yeah, despite all that, 4-2 at this point, off to a great start in the season, bowl eligibility obviously looking realistic. Just how do you feel about where you guys are at right now?
Well, it's unique. We have the Apple Cup clocks kind of walking through, and I told them this morning that says 47 days, and we have 47 days together, right? Guaranteed. We got to earn more, and I told them flat out. I said I want to coach this team more. right? I like doing it. The coaches in the back do, and I think this team has a camaraderie. They love being around each other, and I think that's an important thing that you just can't have, right? And it hasn't always been easy. So I love where our team's at mentality-wise. I love how they take the field, and I love, for the most part, where we are at work ethic-wise, right? We just got to keep building consistency in everything that we do, right? And that was the hard part about Saturday. We pride ourselves on discipline, and we made some undisciplined mistakes. So, as a coach, that fires me up. We still have a ways to go, but at the end of the day, I love where our team's at. We lost against two very good opponents. I'll never use the word should have anything, okay? Those two opponents beat us, but, we're excited about where our team's at, and where we can still finish is exciting. So each week is a new challenge.
Jalen Jenkins was just named Pac-12 Freshman of the Week. Just comments on that. We were just talking about it a minute ago, and, obviously a bigger role coming, but pretty good accolade for him.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun with Jalen, because I had a conversation with him before the game and said, hey, you're going to go out there and make a big play today. And he's like, Coach, I think you're right. And then to go out there and catch that ball, and then some of the runs, just proud of him, because there's a lot of work behind the scenes that he's really doing to mature, to do things the right way. He has a lot of pride in what he does, and I think he's learning. So that's a big congratulations to Jalen, and also the work of a lot of people to get him to that point. So just really excited for him, and this is just the beginning.
Felt like Saturday may have been the strongest game this year for Lawrence Valatea. Had a couple tackles. That bat down, they got nullified with the offsides. There's obviously a lot of traffic in that edge room, but just kind of what have you seen from him, and what did you maybe see on Saturday?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked, because Lawrence has done a really good job. And I think he started flashing right about fall camp, right? But that's that time where, freshman, right? You get that first year swimming, now you get to spring, now he gets to that second fall camp, and he's just starting to feel more comfortable. He's finally to a size that he can compete at in this league. You can't compete in this league at 205 pounds. So just excited about his process, and he gives us something different. And that's what all those guys, it's unique in that room, how different they all are. So a little more juice, but he's been having the ability to play with power and giving us another guy in that room that we can rely and count on, which is always exciting for a young player.
First turnover-free game, what did you see in the kind of just the progress of decision-making out there?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it was something that we've talked about, something that we've emphasized. You love the one right before the end of the half, make sure Jalen takes care of that ball. But at the end of the day, it's a step in the right direction. And I just want to make sure we're not running with two hands in the open field because we're so worried about it, or Cam's thinking about it. I thought he played a clean game, and when the opportunities presented, he took chances down the field, and that's still the way we want to play. I think on the flip side of all that, we need to get back to taking the ball away, because I just, sometimes those come in bunches and they have highs and lows, and we're not coaching it any different. We just need to go out there and make some of the plays, because it's the momentum, it's the energy, it's the short fields that we can create, and I think that's the biggest thing that we just need to make sure as a team somehow we're on pace with that.
So what do you think about the O-line on Saturday, and how could you strengthen that, perhaps?
Well, I think the O-line, is consistently getting better, even if it's just small increments as we keep moving forward. This is probably 2 games in a row where we kind of came out and didn't play exactly where we could have to start, and I thought they did a good job settling in, but I thought we handled a lot of the movements and a lot of the disruptions. We just got to be a little bit cleaner in the drop back pass game, so those guys are working hard to do it. It was a challenge when Grant went down, and we'll be ready to go this first half without him, and he'll be energized to come back in the second half of this game.
So we've talked about it in the past, but speaking of turnovers, what goes into creating turnovers? And I guess is there any renewed focus this week on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just sometimes as a coach too, you talk about taking care of the ball, everyone gets all tight, right? Sometimes you talk about you have to take the ball away, everyone gets tight. We need to play with technique. We need to cut it loose, and we need to make sure we're playing with max effort, right? That's how those things happen, and they'll come back to us. Like I said, I've been really happy with how much we've controlled the vertical pass game, right? So, those opportunities sometimes, if they don't take it down in the field on you, don't present it. But we need to get back and really ripping and stripping at the football. But cutting it loose within technique and playing with max effort, that's always been our success, and that'll continue to be our focus as we go into this Oregon State game, who, same thing, has turned it over a little bit more than they normally have in the past game. But at the end of the day, they're very good with the football.
Any other questions? Thank you, Coach.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.